A young man sits in a dealership chair, signing for a car. Not a reckless car, not a stupid car, just a little nicer than he needs. The monthly payment is small enough to call manageable. The salesman is polite. His parents would approve. His friends would compliment it. Everything about this moment feels normal. That's the problem. The danger is not that the decision looks wrong. The danger is that it feels fine. The rule does not punish him in the showroom. It waits in the calendar. Now move the calendar forward. 5 years. Same person. Different posture. He is at his kitchen table at 11 p.m., looking at a screen full of numbers he doesn't want to add up. The car is older. The payment is still there. The job he wanted to leave 2 years ago. He hasn't. He can't. Not really. Something invisible is holding him in place, and it didn't arrive recently. It arrived in the showroom. It just took 5 years to be felt. There's a kind of rule that doesn't punish you when you break it. It waits. You break it on a Tuesday afternoon between meetings with a coffee in your hand and a small smile on your face. It waits in your calendar. It waits in your inbox. It waits in the next paycheck and the one after that. The bill arrives 6 years later, dressed as a life you can't change. This video is about those rules, the ones nobody feels in the moment, the ones almost everyone feels eventually, the ones that don't make headlines because they don't make sound. Money rules do not hurt when you break them. They hurt when your life starts obeying them. Nobody feels compound interest at 22. Nobody feels lifestyle creep during the raise. Nobody feels opportunity cost in the middle of an exciting purchase. The rules are invisible at the moment. They become visible as a life. That's the lens this channel is built around. The hidden systems behind money, status, brands, and modern behavior. Most people think money is what comes in. The salary, the deal, the bonus, the promotion. But money is not what enters. Money is what survives. 2 people earn the same amount this year. One ends the year with a quiet gap between income and life. The other ends with nothing left, sometimes less. They didn't earn differently. They lived differently between the deposits. The rule didn't shout at either of them. It just kept count. Income is loud. It's the number you say out loud at dinner. The gap is quiet. Nobody sees the gap. Nobody posts the gap. And that's why the gap is where freedom lives. The person with the smaller paycheck and the bigger gap has more options than the person with the bigger paycheck and no gap. One has money, the other only has income. The first didn't beat the second in a year. He beat him in 1,000 small Tuesdays nobody was filming. Now, look at the purchases that pull on the gap. Not the obvious ones, the reasonable ones. The phone upgrade because the old one was slow. The weekend trip because the week was hard. The new outfit because nothing felt right. The delivery because cooking felt like one more job. These are not stupid purchases. They are emotions looking for an object to land on. Elias knows this scene. He's been in it. The tired hand, the bright screen, the small relief that pretends to be a decision. There's a small test most people skip. Wait a week. Just 1 week. Don't buy yet. Watch what happens. Most of the time, the desire is already gone by the time the week ends. That's the proof. The thing you needed wasn't a thing. It was a mood with a price tag. A real need waits patiently. An impulse can't. And the rule waits too, quietly counting how many times the impulse won. Now, let's talk about a different kind of waiting. The one that doesn't cost less. The one that costs more. Imagine two versions of the same life. Two possible Elias. One starts saving and investing small amounts in his early 20s. The other waits until his 30s. Not because he's lazy, but because there's always something more urgent. By the time the second one starts, the first one isn't ahead by 10 years of money. He's ahead by something the second one can't catch with willpower. The rule was never loud about this. It was just patient. The years you ignored didn't disappear. They became the most expensive years of your life. Not because you spent more in them, because you didn't let them work for you. Compounding doesn't punish loudly. It punishes by absence, by the option you no longer have, by the choice you can't make at 40 because you didn't make a smaller one at 22. Nobody warns you in the moment. The moment feels fine. You're young. There's always next year. The first missing year doesn't hurt. The first missing decade does. And by then, the rule has already finished its work. There's another rule almost no one talks about. The skill that makes money is not the skill that keeps it. People win lotteries and lose them. Athletes earn fortunes and burn them. Founders sell companies and spend themselves back to zero. Not because they're stupid, because the part of them that wanted to win was louder than the part of them that knew how to hold. And the rule about holding doesn't show up at the peak. It shows up in the slow erosion after. Building wealth is a fence, risk, ambition, bets, pushing forward. Keeping wealth is defense, patience, boredom, saying no to the next exciting thing. Most people learn one and skip the other. They get good at attacking, then they don't understand why nothing stays. Money is not a single game. It's two games played by the same person, who usually only trained for one. The one who knew how to win the first game often loses the second one quietly, in small purchases nobody is paying attention to, including themselves. Now, think about savings differently. Not as money you can't spend, as doors you can open. Two people get the same bad news at work, the same toxic boss, the same impossible week. One stares at a resignation email for months and never sends it. He rewrites it. He deletes it. He saves it as a draft. He tells himself it's not the right time. The truth is simpler. He doesn't have the margin. The other writes it on a Tuesday and sends it on a Wednesday. They didn't have different jobs. They had different gaps. The rule was waiting for both of them. It just opened the door for one. Savings look invisible until the day they become a door. A door out of a city you outgrew. A door out of a relationship that quietly drained you. A door out of a panic month. A door into a year you wouldn't have been able to choose otherwise. Some people buy things with their money. Others buy exits. The exits cost the same. They just don't feel like anything until you need them. And by the time you need them, the rule has already decided whether the door is there. Here's a strange truth about delay. What nobody sees today becomes visible decades later. There was a man named Ronald Read, gas station attendant, janitor, worn coat, old car. He held the same small habits for 60 years without explaining them to anyone. When he died, he left almost $8 million behind. The town had no idea. He looked like nothing in particular his entire life. That was the rule, working slowly, in his favor. He didn't win loudly. He just stopped breaking the same rule over and over until time noticed. Now compare him to the loudest version of money. The luxury car parked outside a restaurant. People look, people notice, people assume. But the car doesn't prove someone has money. It proves money was spent. The account you can't see is what proves the choices were protected. Looking wealthy is easy. Staying free is harder. And one of them almost always cancels the other. Every generation thinks it is choosing freely. Most of the time, it is wearing a costume its era handed it and calling that freedom. For one generation, the costume was the house, own it, and you'd arrived. For another, the costume was the upgrade after every raise. Bigger car, bigger apartment, bigger version of the same life. For another, the costume was the photo from somewhere expensive, experiences as proof of a self. Today, the costume is the aesthetic, the language of investing performed online, the right brands, the right captions, the right kind of minimal. The costume changes, the trap doesn't. The trap is putting it on without asking what it quietly costs you to keep wearing it for 10 more years. And then there's the rule that saves people from their own plans. The perfect financial plan that you abandon is worse than the imperfect plan you can live with. Spreadsheets don't panic. People do. Spreadsheets don't get bored. People do. Spreadsheets don't compare themselves to a stranger online at 1 a.m. People do. The best money system is not the one that makes the most sense on paper. It's the one that survives your actual nervous system on a hard month. The one you can still follow when you're tired, scared, or watching someone else win loudly. Reasonable beats rational because reasonable is what you can actually keep doing. Step back from all of it. These aren't rules about being cheap. They aren't rules about denying yourself. They are rules about respecting delay. Because every purchase, every raise, every missed year, every small impulse, every signal you send to the world about who you are, all of them are seeds. Some become freedom. Some become obligations. None of them announce which they are at the moment you plant them. The rule is always working. You just don't feel it yet. If this is the kind of lens you want to keep, the Elias principle is here. Not to make the world louder, to help you see what was already there. At the end of all of this, Elias is standing in a quiet room. On one side of him, a younger version of himself, about to buy something, delay something, ignore something. On the other side, an older version, already living inside the result. The older one doesn't speak. He doesn't warn. He doesn't judge. He just holds it. The rule you ignore today doesn't disappear. It waits. It becomes a bill, a habit, a limitation, or a freedom. Money rules do not ask if you believe in them. They just wait until your life proves them true.